Bad cinematography is something that you watch and you forget and never think about it again.
What do you consider bad cinematography?
Ooh, bad cinematography. I would say bad cinematography is something that is when the form takes over the content. Bad cinematography is gimmicky. Bad cinematography is something that's just there for its sake, on its own. Bad cinematography is there that is just making images which have no reason, really, or they're not founded in anything. There's no intent behind the images. And I would not even call it cinematography. I would call it content, and that's what nowadays we live in a world of people creating content, calling themselves cinematographer, but you're not really telling the story. You're just creating something that is gimmicky, flashy, like all these TikTok videos and stuff, which are designed to just grab your attention, get a click, and move on. Bad cinematography is something that you watch and you forget and never think about it again.
What was the hardest part of learning cinematography for you?
For me? Oh. Well, everything's hard and nothing is hard, really, when you look at this. Like, to me, the hardest part was to really get into that. Like, I get in cinematography completely, I would say, by accident. I never had intention, really, to become a cinematographer. Or secretly, I wanted to really study photography in my high school days. Because I love photography, that's what I was doing. And when I was already enrolled in a college to study something completely different, something that was very technical, let's say, engineering. But I always felt, okay, this is going to be a good profession because it suits my sensibilities and it's a good thing. But then secretly there was always this, what if I maybe try to study something visual, something like photography? The problem back in Yugoslavia when I was there was no real school for photography. Like, you could not study photography. There are only few schools in Europe that you can actually go in college and study photography, still photography. But for me, it was like the closest thing to photography was cinematography, which is kind of still photography, but in motion. So I got to college to study something I really don't know anything about. Did not know anything about cinematography. I did not know what a camera is. I kind of knew it's similar to still camera, but it has more film. The lenses are much more complicated than the one I had on my camera. So I would say probably that first year or 2 years in a film school was the most difficult for me, but also at the same time most exciting and more challenging because I'm making a decision to dedicate the rest of my life to something which I don't know anything about, which is crazy. But on the other hand, it's exciting, and I never regretted that decision I did.
What was the hardest part or parts for you to learn?
Well, there is one technology aspect, and there is also creative aspect. Like, for me, being still photographer, which is the way I was doing, it was like, you see, you point, and you take a picture. That's what most of the photography that I do still is. So you kind of react to what is in front of you. And then you react to the moment and hoping that the emotion that you capture in that moment will be something that will be captured forever in that one film, in that one frame. And the people looking at your picture will have the same emotional response. Well, for cinematography, it's completely different. Cinematography it's not, especially when talking about narrative format, it's not that something is going to happen, you capture it in a hope. No, you have to think backwards. You know what kind of emotional response you have to create, and you have to make it happen. Then you have to use the tools, aesthetically, technically. What type of light? How you create the mood? How is this mood going to translate to the whole picture? That's one thing. But then, okay, but how you capture that mood? What kind of lights? What kind of lenses? What kind of cameras? So there's all technical aspect to this. So this fusion between the emotional response, which is the ultimate, what you're trying to get with your images, and the technical and technological aspect that, okay, but here are the tools, how to get to that. And you hope it's going to work. And that's the thing, you just hope. So you use that lens, you use that light, you put this and this and this and this, and the actors are acting and you're recording and you're filming it, and then when it's all together, you hope it's going to work. And in my case, it worked most of the time. Of course, I had moments like, well, it didn't work. Didn't work, what can I do? I tried. Maybe didn't think right. But also they gave me a chance to think, okay, well, I know what I did last time and that did not work, so I know I should not do this again. And it's kind of like a learning process constantly. That's what's good about it.
Is there an element of risk and magic, or you can make it seem that way if you know the tools?
There's always risk. I think there's always risk involved, and that's what, again, makes it so exciting. Because you can never say, oh, I know how to do this, I'm going to do this way, that way. I change my mind in the middle of the shot, in the middle of the setup, like, oh, no, actually turn off this light. I think I like it better. What I was thinking, I don't know, but this doesn't work. So let's go this way, and you act on your instinct. When it comes down to magic, well, I think filmmaking used to be magic, not anymore, as it still is, but not to the extent as it was while we were doing film. Because filming it on motion picture film is still that element of magic that after you expose the film, there's something captured in this emulsion. But until this emulsion goes through the process, gets developed, gets transferred, and then you don't know what's in there. Nobody knows what's in there. And you would take a risk and say, well, maybe I should go really dark on this one. Maybe I should just turn off all the lights, maybe leave one light, and hopefully it should work. And I'm not saying I would do that. Every cinematographer I know, very accomplished cinematographers, will do the same thing. Conrad Hall was notorious for doing this kind of stuff because he's like, he was always pushing things, always like pushing beyond anybody else. And the excitement or anxiety that you have between the moment the film goes to the lab and the moment you see your dailies projected or transferred is very nerve-wracking. Well, with the arrival of digital cinematography, with the arrival of digital technology, well, the only thing I can say, I sleep better nowadays, like really, because I know what I'm getting. Like I can see right away, okay, yeah, we have a monitor, we have a camera. I don't rely too much on monitor or camera. I don't, because I'm still trained using my light meter. I take my light meter, okay, 2.8, and same thing I did with my student today. We walked on stage and said, okay, so what lens we're going to use? What's the f-stop? What is the sensitivity of the camera? And we're going to light it. So our exposure is 2.8. And I use my light meter and set it up here. Like there's going to be one stop over the key, 2 stops under the key, 2 stops over, whatever, so we just do this. I know in my mind what light is going to do just by using a meter. And then we look at the monitor like, oh, okay, that looks good. So, yes, there is a mystery in the moment when you're turning on, but again, everybody can see what's happening, so that mystery is kind of gone.